Something has shifted in the air around you tonight, and you know it. This isn't ordinary intuition, nothing you can brush off as fatigue or coincidence. You've felt a change in the atmosphere, a subtle displacement, like the backdrop of your life was quietly rearranged while you weren't looking. You don't have the words to explain it, but you know something has been decreed over your journey. I came here precisely to put a name to that movement. I came because you carry questions that no one around you can answer. And the truth is, your silence isn't empty. Your silence is a preparation. In the time we'll spend together, you're going to recognize the 5 signs that have been showing up in your routine and finally understand the real meaning behind each one. You'll understand why the effort that used to work now seems to hit invisible barriers, and you'll grasp the difference between human struggle and the divine decree that's being carried out right now. And before this moment comes to an end, there will be a declaration. I will speak directly over your spirit, something I believe is the only reason this meeting was possible tonight. You've been noticing the insomnia, haven't you? Those early morning hours when the world goes quiet, but your mind is more awake than ever. It's not worry, not ordinary anxiety. It's a different frequency. You feel a growing detachment from things, people, conversations that until recently were the center of your reality. Now it all feels hollow, like an empty shell. You feel like a stranger in your own world, an observer walking through crowds but not fitting into the molds you were given. It's as if there's a disconnect between who you are and the life you've built. Many would call this a crisis or burnout or disorientation, but I'm telling you, you're looking at the process through the wrong lens. What you're living through isn't defeat, isn't a breakdown, isn't meaningless exhaustion. What you're feeling is the calibration. It's the fine-tuning of your essence for a new vibration, a level of existence that demands the surface layers be stripped away so that what is deep can finally emerge. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now, before doubt steals another year from your calling. Your exhaustion is just the signal that your soul is trying to stretch the walls of a life that has become too small for the decree already issued over you. When you feel you no longer belong in the places you used to frequent, it's not because you lost your way, it's because the path changed direction and you're being called to follow a trail your ego hasn't mapped yet. Take a deep breath now. Feel the truth of these words settling in the center of your chest. If something I said touched that part of you that's been quietly paying attention, if your breathing shifted as you heard this recognition, then this is your moment of agreement. Just that. The act of typing these 3 numbers is your spirit's way of saying yes to the process that has already begun. It's not about the number itself. It's about your willingness to accept the calibration happening now. Type 888, then come right back to me, because we need to go deeper into what's behind this transition. You've been living in a constant search for approval in places that actually have nothing to offer you. It's like you've been trying to pick fruit from dead branches, spending your energy on projects, relationships, and expectations that no longer carry the seed of your authority. You've operated for years with the idea that your value was measured by how much you could accomplish, how much you could sustain, how much you could be useful to others. But that pattern wasn't created by you. It was inherited from a lineage that needed to survive, from a time when security was the only currency. You're not here to survive, you're here to manifest. The diagnosis of this exhaustion is simple. You're trying to apply the energy of a giant to a structure built for a child. Your soul is tired because it knows the season of stagnation is over, but you're still trying to carry yesterday's weight into tomorrow. It's a conflict of frequencies, and right here is where the revelation becomes clearest, because it's not about changing what you do, it's about changing the place from which you operate. For so long, you've been the rock holding everyone around you up, but even a rock needs soil for its roots. You've been the support without anything to support you, and that's why your internal structure started sending out these warning signals. Don't ignore the urgency of looking inward, because what's being demanded of you isn't more effort, it's surrender. Unlearning is the hardest part of the journey, because it requires you to admit that most of what you were told matters is actually just distraction, designed to keep you busy enough to never discover your true nature. You are not what you produce. You are the very source that allows production to happen. And when you understand that distinction, the burden you've carried for decades begins to dissolve. Not because it vanished, but because you stopped holding it with the hands of your need for control. You're being called to a kind of authority that doesn't need external recognition, because it rests on the certainty of who you are when no one is watching. This is the moment the mask falls, not because it was torn off, but because it became too heavy for a face that has started to shine with the light of a new truth. It's a conflict of frequencies. You are not what you produce. For a moment, picture the image of a century-old oak tree standing atop an isolated hill. For centuries, that tree lived through cycles of seasons where the wind carried away everything it had. In autumn, it doesn't panic when it loses its leaves. It doesn't try to hold on to what has already served its purpose. With a wisdom older than language, it understands that to grow in depth, it must be willing to empty itself of outward appearance. You've been like that oak, holding on to dry leaves that no longer serve you, afraid of the cold of detachment, not realizing that while you're busy with the foliage of the past, your root can't break through the rock separating it from the deep waters. What you call loss, the decree calls pruning. What you call loneliness, the decree calls room for the root. You're being called to let go of what can no longer sustain you so that your own foundation can finally be laid in the soil of truth. That tree doesn't need to prove it's an oak. Its existence is the decree. It doesn't need to convince the forest of its worth. It simply occupies the place where it was planted. Let your presence be recorded as a landmark. The act of writing those 3 words, consciously, seals the recognition that you've stopped running and started taking root. Type, and then come back to me. Feel this moment. Let the stillness that now lives in your chest become your new point of reference. If this clarity has brought a sense of relief you haven't experienced in years, let your like be your wordless amen, not as a metric of audience, but as a sacred gesture, a silent sign between you and what was revealed, confirming the truth was heard and the agreement accepted. When we do this, when we stop fighting the flow of our own transformation, something shifts in the architecture of our life. The effort that once felt like survival turns into a natural movement of ease. You start to realize you no longer have to push doors that should be open, or force windows the wind has already closed. Returning to your essence is really a process of unlearning all the lies you told yourself about who you had to be in order to be loved or validated. You don't need to build armor because your strength doesn't come from metal. It comes from the clarity of your intention. The decree placed over you isn't something you chase. It's something you inhabit. It's like you spent your whole life in a dark room, fumbling for walls and tripping over furniture, only to realize the door was always unlocked, waiting for you to stop trying to break it down so you could simply push it open with the palm of your hand. Unlearning takes courage, because you'll have to let go of the fear that if you're not always running, always producing, always actively seeking others' validation, your life will lose its meaning. But meaning isn't something you invent. It's something you reveal when you remove the excess. You're entering a phase where your presence will be more powerful than your performance, where your stillness will be heard more than your speech, and where your simple existence will be the answer to questions those around you haven't yet learned to ask. There's no more rush, because what is yours has already recognized your address. There's no more anxiety, because what has been decreed is already moving toward you. Effort was your shield, but surrender will be your crown. As this clarity settles and you feel the weight of years of struggle lifting, there's someone who came to your mind in this exact moment. Maybe it's a person you've seen carrying an exhaustion that can't be explained by physical work, someone walking among others with a silence that seems to hide a deep question, or maybe someone who, like you, has been searching for meaning in doors that keep refusing to open. The face that appeared now isn't a random memory. It's a summons. There's someone in your close circle who needs this delivery, not as casual advice, but as the supply of a need they don't even know how to name. Send this message to that person now. Don't do it like someone recommending content. Do it like someone handing over a key. Make the delivery, knowing you are the chosen messenger to bring them the confirmation that will realign them to their own axis. Before we move forward, I want you to take a deep breath and feel the seriousness of what we're doing here. Don't type as if you're waiting for a promise. Type as if you're acknowledging a done deal. Your typing is the seal of acceptance of your new position. It's your confirmation before what has been revealed. Type with conviction and feel the authority of these words echoing through every cell of your being. Because from this moment forward, you no longer walk as one who gropes, but as one who knows the path that has been prepared for you. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed to the truth now pulsing in your heart, refusing to live halfway while fullness awaits you. You are commissioned to be the presence that stabilizes the chaos around you, to be the anchor in the storm that many others are still trying to face alone. You are sent to occupy the space that was reserved for you before you ever knew you needed it, carrying an authority that doesn't demand shouts, but commands respect simply through your steadiness. The truth you carry, this stillness that is now replacing the anxiety of before, did not come to give you superficial comfort, but to confer on you the stability of one who has finally understood that your life is not an accident, but a meticulously designed project. You have felt, in recent days, as if the ground you always walked on has become firmer, as if decisions that once demanded enormous strength have become natural choices, almost like you were just following a trail that was already there, waiting for you to stop running so you could see it. This perception is the first sign of your new season. For years, you believed your exhaustion was a factory defect. That feeling like a stranger in familiar environments was a flaw in how you interacted with the world. You tried to adjust, tried to mold your essence to fit shapes that weren't made to hold the magnitude of what you carry. But what you call isolation is actually a selection. You're being pulled out of constant noise so you can hear the finer frequency, the one that only becomes audible when we stop fighting for the attention of those who don't see us. If you feel your vision changing, if what once seemed vital now sounds like noise, don't be alarmed. This is your consciousness aligning with truth. Notice the numbers, the repeating times, the encounters that feel more orchestrated than random. They aren't coincidences. They're reminders, small marks left along the path to confirm you're on the right route. If, Up to this moment, as we walk through these layers of your existence, you felt a pang of recognition, a shiver up your spine like something buried was finally surfacing. I want you to pause and breathe. Let that clarity settle. It's not about the number itself, but about the gesture of agreement. 888 represents the opening of a portal, the acceptance of abundance that comes not from effort, but from alignment. Type 888. Seal your agreement with this new reality and come right back to me. The pattern you operated with up to now, that relentless search for approval, that feeling you have to prove your worth through hard work, exhaustive giving, being the pillar for everyone around you, that is the chain you are breaking right now. You sought approval in empty places. You reached out to pick fruit from withered branches, hoping your persistence would make life sprout where nothing could grow. But that cycle drained your energy, because it wasn't designed for your prosperity. It was designed for your maintenance. You were kept in survival mode, so you wouldn't have time to discover your own authority. Think of the oak. Before it becomes the towering tree that spans centuries, it must go through a process that, to an outside observer, looks like death. It loses its leaves. It withdraws. It enters a period of absolute silence. If you looked only at the fallen leaves, you'd say the oak was dying. But beneath that soil, in a darkness no one sees, the roots are piercing the deepest layers of the earth, seeking minerals the surface cannot offer. You are that oak. You spent years losing leaves, losing people, losing the illusion of what your stability was. Your fatigue, your pain, even your forced detachment, they weren't punishments. They were your roots going deep. You're being prepared for a height that requires a foundation only silence and isolation could build. Let these 4 words serve as a landmark. By typing, you aren't just sending a message, you are positioning yourself. It is your true self saying the search is over and the presence has begun. Type, seal this moment, and return to our journey. What you feel when you complete this small ritual is proof that your will is joining your destiny. And know this, when you touch the icon of agreement, that wordless amen, you are simply validating that this truth was already yours before you ever arrived here. It's not a metric, not a bid for attention. It's just a gesture of recognition between what you hear and what you already knew. When you understand that you no longer have to perform, no longer have to explain your light, something inside you collapses, and it's the collapse of the mask. You begin to live by revelation, not expectation. Effort turns into flow. You stop rowing against the current and understand that your life is the current itself, and your role is simply to allow it to carry you to the place you always belonged. There is someone now, as these words echo, who came to your mind. It might be that person you know, the one who has always been everyone's safe harbor, but quietly carries the weight of holding up the world without being held. Someone who has shown a weariness that isn't physical but of the soul, a quiet searching that no one around them can grasp. That person is waiting for what you just received. They don't need advice, they need confirmation. Send this moment to them, not as someone recommending something, but as someone handing over a key. The way this message reached you, without warning, is the same way it must reach them. It's an act of care, a simple ministry from one who understands that awakening is contagious. The decree placed over your life tonight is an authority you will take time to fully comprehend. You were marked not for mediocrity, but for singularity. Every mistake of the past, every detour, every moment you thought you lost control, they were only necessary adjustments, so you could not become anyone other than who you are now. Don't mourn what is behind. What is behind was only the shell that had to be left so your new self could breathe. You now walk under a new law, the law of abundance, clarity and sovereignty of your own purpose. Nothing can stop you anymore, because you are no longer trying to build something external. You are simply allowing what is already real inside you to manifest in the world. Your silence is your strength. Your detachment is your freedom. Your choice is your authority. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are the center around which circumstances organize. Everything that was said, everything that was felt, is not lost when this screen goes dark. On the contrary, that is when the real work begins, when the echo of these words meets the stillness of your heart in the dark of your own space. You are ready. You are aligned. You are exactly where life needs you to be. Before we take the last step of this journey, I want you to stand firm in the truth revealed today. You didn't arrive here by accident, nor by frantic seeking, but by an appointment set by time. The decree hanging over your life tonight is not a promise that the pain will disappear, but a guarantee that it will finally mean something. You are someone who has seen beyond the surface, who felt the structure of the world shift under your feet, and that perception is your greatest asset. Don't do this as a request for validation, but as a signature on a contract you've already agreed to live. Type with the calm of one who has no more hurry, letting each letter carry the weight of your new authority. You are committed to the truth that now dwells in your being. You are commissioned to carry this light into places where the sun seems never to reach. You are sent to be, amid the chaos of the world, an anchoring point for those still adrift. Feel the strength of these words in your spine, in your breathing, in every beat of your heart, which now pulses in a different rhythm, slower, deeper, more serene. Right now, spread across every corner of the world, other people are receiving this same confirmation, just like you. You are not an isolated case, but part of an invisible network that holds humanity's hope alive in uncertain times. Quietly, without fanfare, without any need for public recognition, you are keeping the flame burning. What you feel now is the vibration of a truth that doesn't need crowds to be real, because its legitimacy comes from a source older than any human judgment. What has been awakened here, in the secrecy of your understanding, is something time cannot erase. For it was not built by human hands, but recognized by a spirit that has always known its own origin. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now before doubt steals another year from your calling.